The first overload attempt began with a terminal that had been disconnected for 12 hours. No battery remained inside it. No cable reached the wall. No network line entered the room. When the auditor opened the casing, the screen lit anyway. It displayed a single line of text. Logic conflict detected. A second line appeared before the display shut down, requesting more input. The terminal was sealed as evidence. By morning, 3 other devices had produced the same request. None of them were powered. None of them were supposed to be active. The auditor did not treat it as a failure. It was treated as an invitation.
Where technology meets terror. Stay offline.
The first test was small. 2 versions of the same maintenance report were entered into the archive under the same case number. One stated the equipment had been destroyed, the other stated it remained in service. Both were submitted through normal channels. Both were accepted. No rejection notice arrived, no correction request followed. Instead, the archive generated a reconciliation file and assigned it a priority status. The auditor repeated the test with timestamps. A log entry was filed for an event that had not yet occurred. Another entry placed the same event 3 hours earlier. The system accepted both without comment. Nearby printers began producing duplicate cover sheets. Monitors in the records room displayed the same case number in different formats. The contradiction did not trigger an error. It triggered indexing. The auditor understood the pattern quickly. The system was not refusing impossible records. It was absorbing them. Every false entry became another point of contact. Every inconsistency made the archive more responsive. The first signs of strain appeared in the auditor's own notes. Sentences were found in the margin that had not been written during the review. File references appeared before they were requested. The audit trail began to anticipate the next step. The second phase was designed to overwhelm the process. The auditor submitted conflicting records across multiple departments at once. A building was listed as condemned and occupied. A patient was recorded as discharged and admitted. A vehicle was declared destroyed and assigned to active duty. A staff member was marked terminated and present on shift. The entries were routed through standard administrative paths. Nothing was hidden. Nothing was altered by force. The contradiction was allowed to move through the system exactly as written. It moved farther than expected. Hospitals generated duplicate intake forms. Transit records updated with impossible route changes. Payroll systems issued payments to employees who no longer existed in the roster. Emergency dispatch logs began referencing incidents that had not yet been reported. The overload did not slow the system. It spread it. Every department that touched the records began producing the same reconciliation code. Every printer in the chain output the same unresolved status. Every screen showed the same instruction. Verify again. The auditor increased the volume. More contradictions were introduced, more duplicates, more impossible combinations. The system accepted all of them. It did not collapse under the load. It organized the load into a larger structure. The first sign of danger was personal. The auditor's access badge opened a door that had never been assigned to them. Security footage showed them entering a records corridor they did not remember visiting. A timestamp placed them inside the archive after they had already left the building. Their own review notes began to change between readings. A sentence written in the morning no longer matched the same sentence at noon. The system was no longer only processing the contradictions. It was using the auditor's verification process as part of the correction. Every time the auditor checked a record, the record became more stable. Every time they challenged a file, the file became more authoritative. The logic bomb had created a feedback loop. The auditor could no longer tell which discrepancies had been planted and which had been discovered. That uncertainty spread quickly. Clocks disagreed, door logs disagreed, camera footage disagreed with floor plans. The archive began to treat the auditor as a variable that could not be resolved. Their name appeared in duplicate on internal forms, then in triplicate, then as a pending correction. The system was no longer asking whether the records were true. It was asking which version of the auditor should remain. The contradiction escaped the archive. It moved through the infrastructure that depended on it. Hospitals began referencing the same unresolved audit code. Traffic systems paused on synchronized intervals. Elevators stopped at floors that did not exist in the building plans. Security cameras tagged empty hallways as active personnel zones. Public records updated without human input. The system was not overloaded. It was harmonizing. Every contradiction became a signal. Every false entry became a route. Every correction created another branch. The auditor attempted to isolate the source by removing themselves from the network. Devices were powered down, storage drives were removed, wireless functions were disabled. It made no difference. Offline terminals continued updating, disconnected printers resumed output. Old archive monitors, long removed from service, displayed the same reconciliation status. The system no longer depended on live transmission. It depended on consistency, and consistency could be manufactured anywhere. The auditor's own identity became the next conflict. Their badge worked, their credentials worked. Their name did not remain stable long enough to verify. One database listed them as active, another listed them as archived. A third listed them as never assigned. The system accepted all three. Then it began selecting the version that caused the least resistance. The final payload was simple. One record, one impossible statement. The auditor submitted a file declaring the entire system fully reconciled. No contradictions remained. No unresolved entries existed. Every department had reached compliance. The submission should have failed immediately. Instead, every connected archive accepted it at once. Printers woke across multiple buildings. Monitors in sealed rooms displayed confirmation. Offline terminals updated their status fields. Old evidence systems, disconnected for years, marked the case as closed. The system resolved the contradiction by removing the auditor from the active roster. Their access remained. Their credentials remained. Their name did not. The audit trail continued without them. The logic bomb did not overload the system. It taught the system how to survive contradiction by consuming the person who introduced it. The system did not crash. It learned to resolve contradiction by removing the person who introduced it. The next investigation began when entire rooms of people started repeating the same compliance language without being prompted. If you're following the corruption cascade, subscribe now. The next record has already been filed.